Maloney, and we're ready to open the meeting for the Lawrence Regional Airport Aviation Advisory Board, and Scott will talk first.
Great. Good evening, everyone. My name is Scott Wagner. I'm the Lawrence Airport Manager, and welcome to the February 7th meeting of the Aviation Advisory Board. And I just have a few housekeeping items for this hybrid meeting. City staff and aviation board members will be in person at City Hall. Virtual participation is allowed for any participant, including staff and the public. Live public comment can be made in person or at City Hall or virtually using the Zoom link. This meeting is being recorded and broadcast on the city's YouTube channel and cable channel 25. If you are on Zoom, please remember to mute yourself during the meeting when you are not speaking. The chat function for this meeting is disabled and all chats will go directly to me. When the chair calls for in-person public comment, individuals should indicate if they wish to speak, and staff will direct you to the podium. Individuals participating via Zoom should use the raise hand function to indicate they wish to speak. Please state your name before speaking, and comments will be limited to 3 minutes. The city reserves the right to mute people or turn individual videos off to minimize distractions during the meeting. And now I'll turn the meeting back over to our board chair, Clancy Maloney.
Thank you. We have 4 members present and 1 on Zoom, so we do have a quorum. Jim Laster is on travel and en route right now, so we won't see him, but David, our KU representative, is on Zoom. I guess the first order of business would be to approve the minutes from November 1st, 2023. And I had a couple of minor corrections, and I think Scott has already taken care of those about the voting on anything, because he was listed as a voting person on the minutes, and that will be repaired already. Does anybody else have any other corrections from that meeting? Okay, I'd like a motion to accept those minutes, please.
I so move.
Chris Coleman moves, and do I have a second?
I'll second.
Carrie Gooch seconds. Anybody opposed? Okay, the minutes carry. And how about some public comment? Do we have any tonight? Okay. Moving right along. Might set a land speed record tonight.
You say that. Famous last words.
Okay, I guess, is Brett here?
I'll give the Garver report on the
Okay.
apron project, Clancy.
All right, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, so Christine, if you want to pull up that memo on the master plan update, I did let John Rosses know he didn't need to zoom in from Alabama today, but let's see what she pulls up here. Yeah, so we did have our first process at the airport open house on January 10th, and those were the presentation slides that John Rostis and the Garver staff presented at that visioning session on January 10th. It was a snowy day, but I think we had a good turnout for that meeting, and I did post those to the agenda tonight so that the public would have access to those presentation materials. John just kind of went over some of the nuts and bolts of what an airport master plan entails and what it does and does not do. And then he provided an update memo as to kind of the work completed to date and the work underway and the upcoming items. I also posted just today his notes from the stakeholder interviews, so those are also available on the agenda documents for tonight. So here's John's update. Work completed to date. We had the project kickoff meeting on January 10th. Interviews were held with some of the project steering committee members, and I see Mr. Tillman here today, so I think he was, and Lloyd, Hetrick, some of the people that were interviewed that day by Garver. And then we had the visioning session that afternoon at the airport with a broader stakeholder group, and I thought that went well. And again, I've posted the Garver notes from that visioning session. And then that evening, we had a airport open house. The next day, Garver staff took a tour of the airport, kind of an inventory of existing conditions, and they're currently working on aviation activity forecasting, so that's kind of the work in progress. One of the things that will feed into that aviation activity forecasting and I've given Garver the link to this, and I'll talk about it more in my airport manager's report, but we did get the airport monitoring systems receiver up and running at the airport, so we're starting to get real-time data in terms of airport activity going on out there. I'll have something more to share at our next meeting. They've just given us the kind of the public interface for that data that comes in, and I just got a kind of a training with that company on Friday, so not quite in a position to share a lot of that data coming in, but it's exciting to have, and I think it will really help Garver with the master planning process. So the work currently underway is the things I just mentioned, and they're also working on the aeronautical survey. So as part of the master planning process, there will be a survey of the airport going on, and that was a big component of the project costs as well. Deliverables, they did put together that visioning sessioning memo. Again, I have posted that to tonight's agenda. And then the next deliverable is an inventory of existing conditions, forecast of aviation activity chapters. So that's kind of where we stand in terms of the master plan work by Garver. And they'll be happy to try to answer any other questions I know several members of the board took part in that process. Clancy?
Okay. Anybody have questions? Carrie, did you have any comments you wanted to make about the stakeholders process?
No, I did. I say no, and then I start talking.
Okay.
I did get a chance to participate in the interviews that morning, and I thought it was a great opportunity. I think we had a really good conversation. Folks from Garver asked really great questions, so I'm excited to kind of see that process as it goes along.
Okay. Mr. Tillman, is there anything you'd like to say about the stakeholder meeting?
Not at this point.
Okay. All right, anybody else? David, I think they talked to you too. Do you have any, David? They scheduled you after the January 10th, so did you have anything you wanted to interject here?
No, it was a good conversation. We spoke a lot about, obviously, upcoming projects related to the 11th and Mississippi and opportunities that might be able to present, as well as World Cup upcoming, just for more visioning and related to taking advantage of those opportunities. But no, we had a good conversation.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, anybody else on the Garver situation there? And now the apron project, Scott?
Yeah, I'm not seeing Brett Holt online,
Do we want to
but
skip that?
I can go ahead and cover his report. I mean,
Okay.
I've posted it. So we'll talk a little bit about this project at a couple different sections in our agenda tonight. But we do, if you guys recall, have a Kansas Airport Improvement grant to design the apron project. So that's currently under design. Garver has that contract, and Brett has provided an update on kind of the work completed to date. So as part of his report, Christina has it pulled up here, kind of shows really the nuts and bolts of the real need, and certainly Lloyd knows this as well as most users of the airport, that the apron needs to be reconstructed. The PCI rating is dismal. We're at a point where we've got to get this project done. I'm thankful that we got the KIP grant to at least get the design started, because if we hadn't, we'd be doing nothing at this point. So we've got that work underway, and we'll talk more tonight about the other grants that we have for hopefully moving this project across the finish line and getting it to construction. So further down in Brett's memo, there's a topographical survey going on. And one of the things that we certainly want to address, and Lloyd and I have talked about it the last couple of years, is the drainage off of the apron. There's some low points that tends to slope towards the terminal building, so that'll be addressed during this project. I've told Lloyd the last couple of years, yep, we're going to fix it during the apron reconstruction. So, that's part of this project too. Brett notes some of the other things that have already been completed. The airspace analysis, that's a 7460 report that has to be submitted and approved by FAA for any real construction activities that take place at an airport. We've shared with Lloyd some of the construction safety and phasing plans. So I think he we'll work with Lloyd on, what works best in terms of the different phasing for construction of that project with airport operations. And Garver has some good alternatives there. And I'm sure by our next meeting, as we get further along, we'll share some of those documents with you guys as well. His note on pavement design, again, kind of goes back to that first bullet point in the memo, that we did some core samples out at the airport about 1.5 years ago to really figure out if the apron needs a full-blown reconstruction or if just a mill and overlay can take care of most of the problems we're seeing at the apron. And Brett notes that really just a mill and overlay, 3-inch mill and overlay should take care of the problems at the apron. And the upcoming deliverables, 60% report should be done by next week, and we'll keep moving on that project.
Okay.
I'm not sure I see Brett online yet, so I'll be happy to answer any questions about that. And like I say, we'll talk more about this project when we get into some of the funding items for tonight.
Okay, if Brett comes, just let me know and we'll let him say his piece when he comes on. Okay, and I guess the last thing under the agenda items is the update on the FAA Airport Improvement Program for 2025 to 2029.
Yeah. Get to that memo. So if you recall, every year we kind of update the FAA Airport Improvement Program. And this year, I asked Garver to really kind of update the data sheets that we have to submit into the FAA system. They didn't really do that last year because we felt like the cost estimates really are what these are for these projects had been updated the year before. And so we didn't really do a whole lot of updating last year to the FAA data sheets, but we did this year. So Garver's updated those numbers, and these are all projects we've talked about in the past. Probably the new element that we have some better numbers on, if you recall last year, we added the extension of Taxiway D, which you guys as a board really brought to my attention that this was something that needed to be at the top of the list in terms of the 5-year improvement program. So Garver put some numbers together on that. We've got that uploaded into the FAA data system. But just kind of a quick recap on where we stand with our projects and funding. So the rehab of taxiways A, B, and C, updated numbers there. Rehab of taxiway A lighting. If you look at the memo there, and then there's also an Excel spreadsheet attached, we've got a Kansas Airport Improvement Program grant for both design of that project and partial funding of construction in the amount of $490,000. So we'll also talk about, getting that project into the city's CIP program as well. This all gets a little bit confusing, perhaps, because, we talk about different CIP processes. This, I really consider the FAA's CIP list that we submit into the FAA system. The FAA calls it the Airport Improvement Program, and that's the primary source really of funding for airports across the country, and we take advantage of those funds. And the thing I didn't really include in this memo tonight is, we're in this period of time where the city has access to our bipartisan infrastructure legislation funds, our bill funds. We were allocated $295,000 annually for 5 years under the bill legislation that passed a couple years ago. We applied 2 years of that program funding to the taxi lane reconstruction project. So we've got 3 more years left of that pot of funds from FAA that we can really apply to the apron project. And that will be our next steps, is to, meet with FAA Central Region staff and get that programmed into FAA funding for next year. So that's the apron project. We've also got a state of Kansas grant in the amount of $800,000 for construction of that project. Like I already said, it's already under contract for design, and Garver is doing that through a KIP grant. The extension of taxiway D, we have not programmed that into any city CIP lists yet, but we can certainly do that, and that's another item on our agenda tonight. Rehab of runway 119, those cost numbers were just kind of updated. That's on our 5-year list, but not as, I would say, as high of a priority as our other projects. Reconstructing the airport access road, that's on our 5-year list because if you recall, 2 years ago, we got the grant through the bipartisan infrastructure legislation for the airport terminal improvements in the range of about $1 million. And we thought we were going to be able to also improve Airport Road with that grant, but just not enough funds to go around. But with that project, we were able to design those improvements to Airport Road and to the long-term parking out there. So we've got that set of project plans on the shelf ready to bid. So we applied for a third round of ATP funding for that project. We can also move that into the city CIP process to see how that would score, as well as continue to ask FAA for funding of that. But I would say in terms of the 5-year list of projects, that's lower on the priority list. So as I put at the bottom of my memo, you guys have given staff good direction in terms of the priority of these projects and how we'll pursue funding with FAA Central Region staff as well as with our own City of Lawrence internal CIP processes. So really, I see the top projects as being our apron project. And in fact, Melissa Sieben and I had a meeting today to discuss City of Lawrence CIP processes and how we really probably need to rescore that apron project because it didn't score as highly as it probably should have. So we think with a rescoring of that project, it hopefully should get up into a funded category in this coming budget cycle. So I'm optimistic about that. And probably the same way with the rehab of taxiways A, B, and C lighting, since we have the KIP grant for partial funding of that project. It should score better in this year's round of internal City of Lawrence CIP projects. And so, as I pointed out in the memo, tonight's meeting is perfect timing in terms of the city's processes and budget and CIP processes, and certainly Melissa or Angela can speak to that, and we will take your recommendations on both of these items to staff for plugging into both our internal budgets and the city CIP process. But this first agenda item is just looking at our recommended list of FAA Airport Improvement Program projects for the next few years. And we see that again every year.
Okay, thanks, Scott. And just for everybody's general information, I believe that this projection for the FAA actually coincides very well with the priorities list that the Aviation Board, Infrastructure, and Capital Improvement Committee had suggested in terms of both the master plan and what we think the priorities for on the airport generally. So I think this looks terrific. Okay.
I'd also like to commend our airport manager for his partnership and guiding us through that process. It was invaluable.
Indeed. Okay. Anybody?
There is an action item tonight on that item.
Okay. Oh, we need to take action on it. I'd like a motion to approve the FAA 5-year airport capital improvement plan for 2025 through 2029. May I have a
So
motion?
move.
Tiffany, did you? Okay, second.
I'll second.
Chris seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Okay, 5-0. Okay. Thank you. And then the next is staff items, the capital improvement program and budgetary recommendations for the city. on Lawrence Capital Improvement Program and the airport budget for 2025. Scott, did you want to talk to that again? Or-
Yeah, exactly.
or
So
Anybody else over there?
these are two related items. I probably should have just put this as another agenda
Yeah.
item, but really seeking, again, the board direction on at least a couple of these items. So as I mentioned, the timing is perfect for the city's budget cycle to make some recommendations on how staff should look at a couple of these projects. So as I mentioned today, that really getting the apron project into the approved list of city items to be funded under our own internal capital improvement program is a top priority. I think, I'm kind of optimistic that that will be hopefully approved for funding in the 2025 budget cycle. Kind of the critical thing about that is, we've got this Kansas Airport Improvement Grant that only has about a 2-year window to, get those funds being utilized. So, I'm optimistic that that will happen. The other project that's been in the city's CIP list is the rehab of taxiways A, B, and C, replacement lighting, upgrading those to LED lighting systems. So we have a KAIP grant for that project, and we can get started on that this year. But again, it's not in an approved funding scenario in terms of the city's capital improvement program. Again, I'm hoping it will score better with this round of scoring. Due to the fact that we have, the KIP grant, and we can also partner with FAA for funding of that project. The project that hasn't been in the city's CIP list is the project we talked about last year, the extension of Taxiway D. So we'll get that project turned in terms of the city's capital improvement plan. A couple other things that we talked about as staff was replacement of the community hangar roof. We did talk about that as staff last week. Lloyd and I have talked about that. The hangar roof on the community hangar does need replacement. It's been submitted in the past under a city CIP project. We'll do that again this year. There could be funds internally for a roof repair. We're kind of waiting to see how other city maintenance projects shake out there, but it's a top priority for sure in terms of getting that roof repaired. And the final item on my memo tonight is, and something you guys have talked about the last couple years, is to put in a program improvement for funding a full-time airport manager. It's something that MSO has put in the last couple of budget rounds, but it just hasn't been included in the city manager's recommended budget. I did point out that in December of this year, we did get an email from FAA Central Region staff kind of encouraging us to have a full-time airport manager, and so that certainly will be taking into consideration in this year's budget cycle. Yeah, so I'll be happy to answer questions, or Melissa or Angela might have something to add to that since they're the budget gurus.
Anything else to add, Melissa, Angela? Okay.
Just that requests for CIP items have to be in the next week, so these numbers will be crunched quickly. General budget, non-CIP, so under $100,000 items go in over the next couple of months. So we're just starting to work on all of that.
Thank you. I would like to make a little bit further comment on the requested action, and I also believe that we need to motion on that. But first of all, I want to say that I got a call from an important personage about recent publicity about our airport for the master plan, and I believe that we have significant interest in Washington to continue that, and I think either Melissa or Angela managed to send Senator Moran to me one morning. So I think the more we take the FAA's advice about getting a full-time airport manager and appropriate staff to go with it eventually, the better off we're going to be in terms of getting federal money. So that said, I I would like a motion to go ahead and recommend that this 2025 budget be recommended to the city, and that we also further very strongly recommend that the city look into funding a full-time airport manager position. So I would like a motion to that effect.
I'll make that motion.
Gary, and a second?
I'll second.
Chris seconds. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
David, 5-0. Okay, there you go. It's all yours. Okay, Scott, you get to talk some more.
All right, we'll keep moving tonight. I know we've had some long meetings the past few meetings, so maybe we'll get through tonight's meeting in a timely fashion. So my airport manager's report, just kind of summarizing the things that's been going on since our last regular meeting. I know we met in a special meeting on December 4th, I believe it was. So just want to thank all the board members that turned out for that special meeting that day, where we heard, the proposals from Dream Air, and you guys spent a lot of time on that day here at City Hall. So thank you for your time and effort at that special meeting back in December. Airport presentations, I did present to the Breakfast Optimist on November 21st. And here coming up next week, I have a presentation on the airport before the Lawrence Douglas County Economic Development Corporation Board of Directors. So I'm looking forward to talking about the airport in front of that group. Tiffany reached out to me about hosting a new member reception at the airport terminal on March 5th from 4 to 6, and I'll let her talk about that when you get to your board discussion. But that's an exciting opportunity, I think, to show off the terminal to a broader spectrum of our community, and we'll have hopefully some fun that evening too. So. I think I reported on this KDOT Innovative Technology Grant that we had applied for at our last board meeting, but they reached out to us. We had turned in a concept application. They reached out to us and said, we're kind of interested, turn in a full-blown application for an eVTOL study. And that study would be to basically determine the energy requirements for having an eVTOL vertiport at our airport. They replied back finally that and gave us official notice that while they were interested, that they didn't feel like just the study alone met the program requirements. However, there is another KDOT program that's out there, and I've got a meeting with Garver staff on Friday to see if this particular project could fall under the other KDOT program that I was emailed about just a few weeks ago. So I'm still optimistic we could possibly get that funded. The next item, just kind of, I've posted to the agenda just all the different AAAE and South Central chapter committees that I'm involved in. Lots of neat items were posted to the agenda tonight, so I won't go over those, but those groups are really keeping me up to date in terms of airport safety and kind of the cutting edge advanced air mobility topics that a couple of those groups are involved in. The airport monument sign is under fabrication right now. I know we've got a sign permit. Kyle Gontowitz, who is gone this week, has really been working on that project for me. I'm cautiously optimistic. Maybe we'll get it installed by March 5th for the airport event.
Right.
But we'll see. We're on track with the permitting. I know Westar needs to install a pole out there to get power to it. So we're working on that, and we'll hopefully have a brand new monument sign here shortly. We did have a meeting last week with PEC on the airport sanitary sewer study. They've got 90% project plans done. And basically they are recommending that a 4-inch force main be constructed to connect the holding tank that is currently out at the airport with the rest of the city sanitary sewer system at roughly TP Junction. They're going to continue to finalize those project plans. We will update construction costs. We asked them to do that at that meeting last week so we can update our CIP processes as well. That project is on a City of Lawrence CIP list for the years further out in terms of possible funding of that project. So, good progress is being made there. Let's see, the Kansas Airport Joint Task Force I've reported on throughout last year. I'm super stoked about the efforts of that particular group. So I laid up on your DS kind of the position paper, the Kansas Association of Airports. We have successfully kind of partnered with KDOT on the results of this task force study. They presented the data from this study to the Senate Transportation Committee meeting a couple weeks ago, and their data pretty much showed, the dismal straits of a lot of airports statewide, and that the state really needs to increase funding to this program. It's currently being funded statutorily at the $5 million level, and it's been at that level for over 10 years now. So a bill was introduced last year in the legislature by Senator Clays of Salina, Senate Bill 272, that would increase funding to $18 million with that KAIP program. Our kind of compromise position that we've reached at with KDOT Aviation is to support a $15 million level of funding for KAIP. So I actually just got confirmation this afternoon that a hearing will be held next Wednesday, Valentine's Day, for Senate Bill 272 in front of the Senate Ways and Means Committee. So that would be a very nice Valentine's present to Kansas airports if we can move that bill out of committee to the full Senate and onto the House. So please feel free to promote support of Senate Bill 272 to anyone, including our local legislative delegation. I've also been working with the Airport Owners and Pilots Association. Tom Chandler is the regional representative, and they are going to support this bill. Melissa Sieben signed a letter yesterday with the city's support of this bill. The Chamber of Commerce has already submitted testimony. So I feel like we've got some good momentum going on this particular Senate bill. Let's see. The next item is, I feel like we've got momentum going with the new KDOT Aviation Director. His name is Ray Seif. He presented that report in front of Senate Transportation a couple weeks ago. He is a former airport manager with the Augusta Airport, certainly understands the needs of Kansas airports, so I was certainly happy with that appointment of Ray Seif as the KDOT Aviation Director. A couple of these things I've already reported on, the airport monitoring system data. I just got off a call this afternoon with our first organizing meeting for the Kansas Association of Airports annual conference. We pushed that to the fall this year, October 9th, 10th, and 11th, due to the fact that there's a somewhat of a competing conference of the South Central chapter of AAAE is meeting in May in Wichita. So we pushed our conference out into the fall. So those are the dates for that. And since it's nearby in Topeka, I hope, and I know it's an item on your guys' agenda tonight, I hope as many of our board members can attend. I know quite a few of you guys attended in Atchison last year. We should have a great program again. And I just found out this afternoon that the Air Force Thunderbirds will be in Topeka that weekend as well. So should be a good weekend for airports in Topeka. The aircraft inventory report is something I have to update to FAA every year. Our numbers didn't really change a whole lot from last year's report, but I've provided those. I attached to our agenda a pretty cool article that appeared in the fourth quarter 2023 Lawrence Business Magazine about our airport, and there she is, Clancy Maloney. The article was entitled Math on the Fly. They interviewed Lloyd Hetrick as well. There's a nice picture of Lloyd in that. Did you ever see it, Lloyd, that article? Yeah. Nice story about the airport. So we like all the publicity we can get. The next item, at our December 4th special meeting, we had the Aviation Airport business application documents that Aviation Management Consulting Group had prepared. We did go ahead and finalize those documents, and those are posted tonight for you guys' review. And I have pushed those out to the Dream Air team that they can complete those documents as they move forward with their project. And I don't really have an update on their particular project tonight. I know their land plan engineering staff met with our Garver staff last week to kind of further refine their project design. So that project continues to move forward. Final couple items. Aviation Day at the Capitol is February 15th. So I hope to see Kerry Gooch over there for that day. I know he's at the Capitol every day during the legislative session, but it's always a great day to talk about aviation, and our KAA organization will have a booth that day as well. I guess the final item I had was our tenant appreciation event for the T-Hangar project. We held that on November 18th. We had a little coffee trailer. The owners of Streamline Coffee brought their coffee trailer out, and we parked it in front of the T-Hangar unit A6. And Chris Coleman and I also grilled up some pancakes that day, and I just thought it was a fun event. I know Doug was there. It helped build some camaraderie among airport tenants, and a good time was had by all, hopefully. So I think that concludes my report tonight, Clancy.
All right, thanks. I have one minor comment. Anybody on the board who is interested in attending either the KAA meeting in October and so forth, or maybe even 4 states, should let either me or Scott know so that we can plan appropriately for that.
I'd like to see
Okay. So, that said, okay, Lloyd, I guess we're ready for you.
Ready for me?
I guess, yeah.
This is Ron. I've got a couple of questions on
Sorry,
the
Ron, go ahead.
manager's report.
Go ahead.
Do we have can you show a picture of the monument sign that's been put on? I hadn't heard that all got approved. It'd be nice to see what that's going to look like.
I'm pretty sure, Ron, that I posted a picture on our November 4th agenda items, but if you can't find it there, I'll be sure to send you one. Clancy was wearing a lapel pin. We already have lapel pins created. And the other thing I forget to mention was we did order a few items for our aviation youth camp, that I brought those tonight that we'll be able to hand out to the kids for that. And we also ordered some lapel pins that depict the monument sign, Ron, but I was holding off on publicizing that until that thing is constructed out at the airport. But we're ready to go with it.
I can try to hold it up, Ron, if it'll make any difference to you.
It is the Gary Fish design, Ron.
Can you see it?
Oh, it's basically the Gary Fish one. Good. That'll be good. I remember what that looks like. Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent. Good. And then I got just one other comment. You mentioned that you met with the AOPA rep. Did you keep Larry Kellogg in the loop on that? Because he's our local AOPA rep.
That's a good question. I can certainly reach out to Larry. They are normally on our calls, but I've noticed they haven't been the last couple meetings. But I will make a note to reach out to Larry.
Yeah, I think they spend winters in Florida, so they're probably at their house in Florida right now. They should be on the invite list. I think they are and have been in the past. So
I will do that.
Okay.
great, thanks. That's all I had.
Any
Thanks.
further comments? Okay, Lloyd, I guess you're on now.
Lloyd Hetrick with Hetrick. While we're talking about that topic, I might notice that.
Lloyd, get to the microphone.
Would that help?
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, get closer to the
I did notice Westar was out there today doing what you were just talking about. I was hoping maybe they might remove that old pole that's not being used for years and years. If you're aware, you might look at it next time you're out. There's a pole that's been abandoned for years. I think it went out to the old ADF or whatever it was. Be nice if they could pull that out of there while they're at it. It's kind of an eyesore. But other than that, I might just state that we had a good, even with the weather from last Saturday with the Houston game, we had a good I think there were 10 jets. That was it, primarily jets because of the weather. And at least 3 of them was the heavy iron. I mean, the Falcon 900, I think we had a 2000 even. So ramp does need to be built up and has grown. But a good turnout from that. If we'd had good weather, then I don't know what would happen. But roughly 3/4 of the ramp was full just because of the size of the aircraft that came in. So, good.
Lloyd, I have a
question?
question for you. How is the moving of all of the football games to Kansas City going to affect you?
Well, it will. It will.
Are they going to still fly into Lawrence, or do you think they'll go someplace else?
Well, it could be they would come in here, because we do get a fair amount of traffic on the Friday afternoon before the game day. So we still may see quite a few that come in Friday, and then they just work their rides out of Lawrence just like everybody else and come back to depart after the game. I don't know.
I was just curious if there's...
I haven't heard anything to one
Yeah.
Of course, the one being at, or what, 2 of them's going to be there at the Legend, so they couldn't get any closer anyway.
Right.
But, yeah, I don't know. If we keep winning at football, we're going to have to figure it out, aren't we?
Yeah.
So we might see more traffic for football than basketball one day.
Well, if there's any recommendation you have about what we can do to help, let us know.
Yeah, well, I think as we get closer, we start hearing what the
Yeah.
results are from that. But I would imagine that the ones that are coming in on Fridays anyway would come in Friday regardless. So I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for thinking of it, though.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else at the moment? Okay. I would like to let anybody on the board at this point, including you, David, make any comments about what you've been doing or what you think the board needs to know about anything that you've been up to. Carrie, you did the stakeholders meeting with
Yeah.
Garver. Anything else up that we need to know about?
No, I think again, everything I said earlier probably is
Okay.
the only main thing I had.
Tiffany?
Other than the CIP work that we've discussed and a little bit of what Scott has discussed, we're excited at the Chamber to host a new member reception, and we did think of our beautiful refurbished airport as a wonderful venue for not only our Chamber Board of Directors, but our Economic Development Board of Directors and a bunch of new businesses and entrepreneurs to come and see how our airport is really playing a vital role in economic development. And I think that's very, very exciting. So I thank you all for that opportunity to have such a fun, cool venue. And I hope that will be just the first of events that we begin to hold out there as a community and really highlight what our airport partnership can look like.
Okay. Chris?
I think it's a great idea, Tiffany. Connecting the community to the airport, I think, is the key. Get more people out there to see what an asset we have. Right now I'm just continuing to work, on the master plan update, staying involved in that process. Was out at the visionary meeting, and then I stayed on for the open house that evening, and I think that was a good meeting. Would have liked to have seen more people turn out for the open house, but that's all right. And then, as Scott mentioned, we put on a little pancake feed for our tenants, and we decided that's kind of a fun thing. We may try to do that more often as the weather gets better this spring. We'll maybe do that again. So.
Okay. Carrie, I wanted to ask you about the Aviation Youth Camp. You were at that meeting?
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I think that was since our last meeting. Yeah, we had, Scott was there and a couple other board members were there. It seems like planning is going really well. I can't remember what the date that we kind of tentatively put in. Scott, do you remember?
It was May 18th?
Well, we've got a date set for the camp of May 18th, and then we've got another planning meeting, I think, March 26th, I believe.
Yeah, so we just kind of discussed some of the different modules that we're planning on having out there. Kind of seems like in the past that we've had it where we kind of move kids from station to station to station, and that's worked out pretty well. So it sounds like the plan is to kind of to try to do something like that again.
Are you getting enough people?
I think so. I mean, I think we still are looking for, we talked about doing airplane rides, and I think we're still looking for a couple more pilots and maybe donate airplane time and things like that. But I think we're moving in the right direction generally.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
David? Anything?
Just another thing to mention that I didn't previously that came up in the stakeholder interview was obviously, in addition to all things football related, the conference center is part of the 11th and Mississippi project. Discussing how that is going to be positioned as a resource for the community at large. Certainly, there'll be some KU uses of it, and we want it to be utilized there, but the focus will be on bringing in outside groups into Lawrence to utilize that facility, and obviously having the airport benefit from that would go human.
Okay, great, thanks. And I had one thing that I forgot to ask, and that is to either Melissa or Angela. Would it help in the city budgeting process if the Aviation Board drafts a letter to support the funding for an airport manager?
It won't hurt.
Won't hurt? Okay. Then, Board, I need a motion for me to draft a letter so that you can sign it.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, anybody opposed? Okay, good, it passes. I will do that and get that around for signature. Got the Aviation Youth Camp update, I think, because Jim's not here, he's en route right now, so Gary, you're elected for that, if there's anything else you want to add.
No. Oh, I see it now, the date on the calendar. Thank you, Scott, for said it earlier. I didn't realize it was right in front of me.
Okay, and then Kansas, next is the Kansas Association of Airport Meetings in Topeka, and Tiffany wants to go. I know I'd like to attend. If anybody else would like to go, please, let me or Scott know,
Yeah,
and
I'd
same
be-
for 4 states. Okay, Carrie?
I'd be very interested. And I got to.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah. And I got to go to the 4 States conference last year. Really enjoyed it. If no one else wants to go, I would definitely go back, but definitely also willing to, share the opportunities with others. But it was a great time.
Do you want to do either?
Through the years when I was back out in Rooks County, I went to the 4 State several times. I'd be interested in attending the
Okay.
4 State.
Okay. Tiffany, are you interested in?
I'm going to skip 4 states.
Okay.
I have a possible commitment that will conflict, and I'm good with my speedy choice.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Doug, I think we're ready for you to talk to us about the Lawrence Pilots Association. Mr. Doug Tillman here.
Hi. Good evening, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to speak about this. A small group of people, about 8 or 9 people, met a couple of weeks ago about forming a Lawrence Pilots Association, and we agreed to do that. We now have 26 people signed up. This is a non-ownership flying club, essentially, of people that are just interested in aviation around Lawrence, especially around Lawrence Airport. Anyone interested in aviation in the region, we really do want to make it an organization that includes people, anybody that uses the airport in particular, even if they're just flying approaches to the airport and not landing. We want to include them so that we can share information and get information from them about needed improvements and things like that. If you take lessons at Lawrence or practice approaches, if you live around Lawrence, if you want to just learn more about aviation or just hang out with pilots and have fun. I mean, that's really one of our primary goals, is to just get together and enjoy ourselves and socialize a little bit more around the airport, with the airport as the center for that. So our goals are to improve and develop the airport, specifically this airport, to increase pilots' knowledge, skill, and safety, promote public understanding and appreciation of aviation, strengthen ties between the airport and the community, support education through aviation, and just share aviation adventures and have fun. So it hasn't really been decided yet what our activities will be this year. We talked about having a first one be a meeting at the airport on April 20th, at which Ron Renz offered to give a presentation about flying the Atlantic as a program. And that's kind of the thing that we want to do, have a social event with a program of some kind. Could be an FAA safety program, somebody locally speaking about the airport, certainly updates about the airport master plan and plans for airport development, things like that. Just keeping people informed and gathering opinion from pilots that use the airport. We have set up a Google group for communication, which is essentially an email mechanism. And so I'm adding email, email addresses to that as I receive them. I've posted about that on the KC Aviators Facebook group, and I've received about 10 responses to that so far in the past week. And as far as I'm concerned, everybody in this room is interested in aviation, so your email address should be, I added Carrie today, your email address should be receiving, should be set up as part of that and receive all of our communications. And go Chiefs,
Yes.
right?
All right.
Are there any questions about that?
What do you need from us, Doug? A place to meet?
I'm getting ready to send out an opportunity for more involvement. I think we need a program committee. We need a program chair to start setting up some schedule of activities.
How many meetings do you think you might try to plan every year? Is that still up in the air?
Well, this goes back to, I'm reminded of the club that I used to belong to, which was Arrowhawk Flying Club, which was, when I started flying in '78, had 80 members. And they were all pilots. And we had a meeting every month. And our practice was to have a kind of a business meeting and a program locally every month, and then every other month. And then in between, we would go somewhere. Fly out somewhere and just go for lunch or visit a museum or go to an FAA facility or something like that. So that's kind of what I had in mind. I don't know if we want to do that often this year. It'll probably take us a while to get it started.
So still early stages?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, I think it's a great idea. Anybody have anything else?
Gather names and help spread the word.
Yes. Send me your email address. I'll add you.
Yeah. Thank you for putting it together.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Doug. I know it's something we've been talking about for a few years now, so we appreciate your support.
I didn't mention, since I started this, I've heard that there are 2 KU student groups that are related to aviation. There's one that is a KU engineering group. Actually, there's an RC modeling engineering student group. And there's another one of just students that are interested in aviation. So we're going to tie in with them and make sure that they're aware of what we're doing and vice versa.
I know we have a reporter here from the UDK tonight. Maybe he can help you get connected to those groups.
Excellent.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Doug. And if there's nothing else.
This is Ron. I got one more thing I'd like to talk about.
Go on.
If you let me share my screen, I don't know if that's possible. I just tried to do that. The GP-180 airplane, which you may not be aware of, it's a 3-surface airplane. It's built by Piaggio in Italy. And that design is a KU professor's aerodynamic design. It was designed by Jan Roscom back in the late 1970s, early 1980s. And it's a pretty good airplane. And I'm finally getting a chance to work on one. We got a contract to work on an airplane in London, the Biggin Hill Airport. I get to work with a fellow that I worked with in Germany about 10 years ago, who's now the manager of the facility we're working in. So I think that's pretty exciting with a Lawrence, Kansas KU tie.
All right, Ron, you can make another program for Doug on that.
Yeah, it would really be pretty interesting. I'm not going to tell anybody why I'm going to work on the airplane, because it's a very interesting project. But anyway, and we're also going to Japan, company that I've been working with quite a while in Nagasaki. Recently got their FAA certification because of we helped them get that, and we're going over for their second FAA audit at the end of February. So I should have brought that up way earlier for public comment, but I forgot about it, so I thought I'd do it now.
It's okay, Ron, thanks. Glad you tuned in. Is there anything else from anybody? Okay, I have one more item. We have to congratulate Kerry Gooch. He got his multi-engine rating.
Congratulations.
Okay, our next meeting is Wednesday, April 3rd. And with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Chris?
Second.
Anybody opposed? We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brett. I saw you jumping on. I think we got everything covered tonight. Appreciate you.
Just one step closer
Okay.
into your bear.